In the quiet town of Casilda, Argentina, a young boy named Horacio Pagani was busy dreaming. While his friends were kicking footballs, Horacio was carving balsa wood. He wasn't just making toys, he was crafting tiny cars. These weren't just any old models, you see. They were super detailed, small sculptures born from a mind full of ideas, sparked by the sleek shapes of racing cars he saw in magazines. He just understood, in a way that was almost confusing, how things should look and how they should work. This wasn't just a quick childhood hobby, it was the very start of a huge obsession, a seed planted in the rich ground of young passion. The reason for his ideas was a strange mix. Part of it was, of course, a deep love for cars, but another part was a strong appreciation for art and science, something he learned from Leonardo da Vinci. Horacio saw no difference between making a beautiful sculpture and building a perfectly balanced car frame. To him, they were two sides of the same coin. He wrote a letter, a pretty brave one, to the great Juan Manuel Fangio, the five-time Formula One world champion and an Argentinian hero. In this letter, he poured out his dreams, his designs, and his strong determination. Fangio, surprisingly, saw something special in the young man's words and drawings. He saw the same fire that had made him great. It was a very important moment, the first turn of the key in an engine that was about to roar to life. Armed with a letter of recommendation from none other than Fangio himself, Horacio Pagani arrived in Italy in 1983. He was young, full of hope, but had very little money. He landed a job at Lamborghini, but it wasn't exactly in the head office. He started as a floor sweeper, a humble third-level worker. Some might have been discouraged, but not Horacio. He saw it as an opportunity. He was inside the hallowed halls of a company that built the Miura and the Countach. He was breathing the same air as the legends. This was the late 1980s, and carbon fiber was still a relatively new and exotic material in the automotive world, mostly confined to the extreme world of Formula One. Lamborghini was experimenting with it, and Horacio found his true calling. He wasn't just interested in it, he became completely obsessed with its potential. He famously urged them to buy an autoclave, a specialized oven needed to cure carbon fiber composites properly. At the time, Ferrari didn't even have one. They told him, "If Ferrari doesn't have an autoclave, then we don't need one either." This was a defining moment for Horacio, so what did he do? He took a personal loan and bought his own autoclave in 1987. This was an incredibly audacious move. While still employed at Lamborghini, he set up his own research company, Pagani Composite Research, in 1988. Horacio's new company, Pagani Composite Research, became his personal laboratory. It was here that he could finally unleash his creativity without restraint. He wasn't just making parts for other companies anymore. He was laying the groundwork for his own masterpiece. The dream of building his own supercar, a project he had mentally codenamed C8, was now beginning to feel tangible. He continued his work with Lamborghini, but every spare moment, every ounce of energy was poured into his personal project. The great Juan Manuel Fangio remained a guiding star in Horacio's life. The two men had developed a deep friendship and mutual respect. Fangio wasn't just a patron, he was a mentor. He reviewed Horacio's designs, offered invaluable advice. It was Fangio who provided the crucial connection that would give the future Pagani its heart. He introduced Horacio to his friends at Mercedes-Benz, suggesting that their powerful, reliable, and beautifully engineered engines would be the perfect power plant for the C8. This was a masterstroke, a decision that would define the character of Pagani cars for decades to come. The design of the C8 began to take shape, inspired by the sleek forms of the Sauber Mercedes C9 Group C racing cars that dominated Le Mans in the late 1980s. But Horacio added his own unique flair, a touch of Renaissance elegance. He imagined a car with a teardrop-shaped glass canopy, like a jet fighter. This period was one of intense dedication and sacrifice. While his composite business was successful, funding the development of an entirely new supercar from scratch was a monumental undertaking. But Horacio was driven by a conviction that was absolute. He was not just building a product to sell. He was giving physical form to a lifelong dream. In 1992, Horacio Pagani felt the time was right. He formally established Pagani Automobili SPA in San Cesario sul Pagnaro, a small town right in the heart of Italy's Motor Valley, just a stone's throw from his old employers at Lamborghini and the legendary gates of Ferrari and Maserati. This was not just a business registration, it was a declaration of intent. He was no longer a supplier or a consultant, he was a constructor, a costruttore, in the grand Italian tradition. He was now officially in the same arena as the giants whose posters had once adorned his bedroom walls. The challenge ahead was, to put it mildly, colossal. Starting an independent car company is a notoriously difficult, almost impossible task. The financial hurdles alone are enough to sink most ventures before they even begin. Pagani faced a constant battle for funding. He had to convince suppliers, partners and financiers that his vision for a carbon fiber supercar was not just a fantasy. Many were skeptical. Then a tragic event struck. In 1995, Horacio's great friend and mentor, Juan Manuel Fangio, passed away. It was a devastating personal blow. Out of respect for his departed friend, Horacio decided to rename the C8 project. It was originally going to be called the Fangio F1. Instead, he chose a new name, one that captured the spirit of his homeland and the essence of the car's aerodynamic design. He named it Zonda, after a fierce wind that sweeps through the Andes Mountains in Argentina. The challenges were not just financial, they were technical and logistical too. Every single part of the Zonda had to be designed, tested and homologated. Horacio insisted on a level of detail that bordered on the fanatical. He personally oversaw the design of every screw and bolt, ensuring each component was not only functional but also a tiny piece of mechanical art. After nearly a decade of relentless development, the moment finally arrived. At the 1999 Geneva Motor Show, the world got its first look at the Pagani Zonda C12. It was, in a word, breathtaking. It looked like nothing else on the road. The exposed carbon fiber weave of its bodywork, the jet fighter canopy, the centrally mounted quad exhaust system that looked like a rocket launcher, and the delicate leaf-like mirrors perched on long stalks. It was, honestly, an alien craft that had landed amongst the more conventional supercars. The public and the press were completely captivated. Beneath that stunning bodywork lay a technical tour de force. The chassis was a carbon fiber monocoque, a technology that Horacio had perfected, making the car incredibly light and torsionally rigid. Nestled right behind the cockpit was the heart of the beast, a magnificent 6-litre naturally aspirated V12 engine sourced from Mercedes-AMG. It produced a healthy 394 horsepower, which might seem modest by today's standards. But in a car that weighed so little, it delivered electrifying performance. More importantly, it had character, a deep, sonorous bellow that was pure automotive theatre. The interior was just as revolutionary as the exterior. Stepping inside a Zonda C12 was like entering a bespoke Swiss watch. The dashboard was a sculpture of polished aluminium, supple leather, and exposed carbon fiber. The toggle switches were crafted with a jeweler's precision. The instrument dials were reminiscent of high-end timepieces. Horacio had achieved his goal of creating a cockpit that was an experience in itself. Every touch point felt special, solid, and exquisitely made, a world away from the mass-produced interiors of other cars. The debut was a resounding success. It was immediately clear that this was not another flash-in-the-pan supercar project destined for failure. This was the work of a true master, an artist-engineer who had poured his life's passion into its creation. The 1999 Zonda C12 was just the opening act. Horacio Pagani never saw the Zonda as a static model, but rather as a canvas for continuous evolution and improvement. The first major evolution came in 2002 with the Zonda S7.3. As the name suggests, the AMG V12 engine was enlarged to a massive 7.3 litres, boosting power to a much more serious 547 horsepower. This wasn't just a simple engine swap. The car was refined all over, with improved aerodynamics and a host of subtle tweaks. This was followed by the Zonda Roadster in 2003, a car that presented a significant engineering challenge. Removing the roof from a carbon fiber monocoque without compromising its structural integrity is no easy task. Then came the Zonda F in 2005. The F was a tribute to Fangio, and the car was a huge leap forward. It featured a host of aerodynamic upgrades, including a new, more aggressive spoiler and front splitter, and its 7.3-litre V12 was now tuned to produce nearly 600 horsepower. It was a machine of incredible beauty and ferocious performance. The Zonda's evolution then took a more extreme track-focused turn. The Zonda R, unleashed in 2009, was a car that shared only about 10% of its components with the Zonda F. It was essentially a racing car for the road, built with no regulations in mind. Its body was made from a new material called carbon titanium, an even stronger and lighter composite woven with titanium threads. The engine was a bespoke 6.0-litre V12 derived from the Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR race car, screaming its way to 740 horsepower. The Zonda R famously shattered the Nürburgring lap record, cementing its status as one of the most extreme performance cars ever made. Even as the Zonda's official production run was winding down, Pagani continued to create a series of ultra-exclusive, one-off special editions for his most valued clients, such as the Zonda Cinque, the Tricolore, and the 760 series. After more than a decade of the Zonda, the world wondered what Pagani could possibly do for an encore. The answer came in 2011 with the unveiling of the Huayra, named after Huayra Tata, the Quechuan god of wind. The car was the result of over 7 years of intensive research and development. While it was clearly a Pagani, it was a completely different machine from the Zonda. The design was softer, more curvaceous, inspired by the concept of air and flight. One of its most distinctive features was the active aerodynamic flaps, 2 at the front and 2 at the rear, which constantly adjusted to provide optimal downforce and stability, much like the flaps on an airplane's wing. At the heart of the Huayra was a new engine, once again developed exclusively for Pagani by Mercedes-AMG. The era of the large, naturally aspirated V12 was coming to an end due to emissions regulations. So the Huayra was powered by a 6.0-litre twin-turbocharged V12. Some purists were initially hesitant about the move to turbocharging, but their fears were quickly silenced. The engine produced a staggering 720 horsepower and over 1,000 newton-meters of torque. It delivered brutal, relentless acceleration, yet AMG had managed to engineer it to feel responsive and progressive, avoiding the lag often associated with turbos. It was a modern marvel of engineering. The interior of the Huayra was another step up into the stratosphere of automotive craftsmanship. It was even more intricate and jewel-like than the Zondas. The gear selector mechanism, for instance, was a breathtaking sculpture of exposed mechanical linkages, crafted from polished metal. The key was a miniature aluminium sculpture of the car itself. Every single piece of switchgear was milled from a solid block of aluminium. Horacio's obsession with detail was on full display. The car's chassis was made from the advanced carbon titanium composite pioneered on the Zonda R, ensuring it was both immensely strong and incredibly lightweight. The Huayra was a global sensation. It received universal acclaim from critics who praised its astonishing performance, its unparalleled craftsmanship, and its stunning beauty. It won numerous Hypercar of the Year awards and solidified Pagani's position at the very pinnacle of the automotive world. It proved that Horacio Pagani was not a one-hit wonder. He had once again managed to blend art and science into a cohesive, soul-stirring machine. The Huayra was a worthy successor to the Zonda, a car that carried the Pagani legacy forward into a new era while establishing its own unique and powerful identity. To truly understand a Pagani, you must understand the philosophy that drives its creator. For Horacio Pagani, a car is never just a collection of mechanical parts. It is a harmonious blend of art and science, a principle he calls arte in scienza. This idea is inspired by his lifelong hero, Leonardo da Vinci, the ultimate Renaissance man who was both a brilliant artist and a visionary inventor. Pagani believes that anything created by man should be beautiful. Take the bolts, for example. Most car companies buy their bolts from a supplier. Pagani, however, designs and commissions its own Grade 7 titanium bolts, each one laser-etched with the Pagani logo. This obsession extends to the carbon fiber weave. Pagani's team spends an incredible amount of time ensuring that the pattern of the weave aligns perfectly across every single panel of the car, a feat of craftsmanship that is simply breathtaking to behold. The key dates in the company's history mark the milestones of this philosophy. 1992, the founding of Pagani Automobili. 1999, the debut of the Zonda C12, which introduced the world to this unique vision. 2005, the Zonda F, which showed the potential for evolution and refinement. 2009, the Zonda R, which demonstrated that the philosophy could be applied to new technologies like turbocharging and active aerodynamics. One of the lesser-known facts that perfectly encapsulates this ethos is Horacio's approach to sound. He doesn't just want his cars to be fast, he wants them to sound magnificent. The exhaust systems are not just pipes to carry away fumes, they are musical instruments, carefully tuned to create a specific emotional response. The sound of a Pagani 512, whether it's the naturally aspirated shriek of a Zonda or the turbocharged roar of a Huayra, is an integral part of the driving experience. It is the science of acoustics meeting the art of music, another perfect example of arte in scienza in action. As we stand here in 2025, Pagani's legacy is already secure. The story, however, is far from over. The latest chapter is the Pagani Utopia, unveiled in 2022. It represents a return to certain core principles. While many hypercars are moving towards hybrid and electric powertrains, the Utopia features a pure twin-turbocharged V12 from AMG, now producing an immense 852 horsepower. And in a move that delighted driving purists everywhere, it is offered with a true gated manual transmission, a celebration of mechanical engagement in an increasingly digital world. There is also the inevitable question of electrification. While Horacio has expressed a deep love for the internal combustion engine, he is not a man who ignores progress. He has confirmed that his team is researching electric technology, but he has also stated that a Pagani EV will only be built when the technology can deliver the lightness, engagement, and emotion that are hallmarks of his brand. The ultimate legacy of Horacio Pagani is an inspirational one. It's a story that proves that with enough talent, passion, and sheer bloody-mindedness, a boy from a small town in Argentina can take on the giants of the automotive world and create a legend. His cars are more than just vehicles, they are rolling sculptures, symphonies of carbon fiber and titanium, and testaments to the beautiful possibilities that arise when art and science are allowed to dance together. The Pagani dream is a legacy in motion, and as it continues to evolve, the automotive world watches with bated breath, eager to see what masterpiece he will create next. From the dusty streets of Casilda to the pinnacle of automotive artistry, Horacio Pagani's journey reminds us that dreams, when pursued with unwavering dedication, can indeed become reality.